Go. So we wait for the 4 red lights to come on. They ready are, and we are lights out, and away we go then for the Senior Minimoto start. It's a great getaway then from Josh Darter. He gets a great getaway off the front row of the grid. It means that Paul Nicholls slots himself into second place. Richard Holmes-Williams up to P3. Change of lead though, as Paul Nicholls hits the front ahead of Josh Darter, and Richard Holmes-Williams manages to mug Josh as well. So Josh now down into P3, potentially P4 as well, because Nick Bennett is looking very racy, and he's up the inside. So Nick Bennett moves up into P3. Josh Darter from first to fourth in the space of just 2 corners. And now there, Josh, we've got Richard Holmes-Williams trying to challenge Paul Nicholls down the back straight.
And Richard Holmes-Williams looks like he's about to make a manoeuvre on
Josh Darter, Paul Nicholls, you're quite right. You're correcting me now. Look at that. So Paul Nicholls and Richard Holmes-Williams going nearly side by side down the Simpson Straight into the final right-hander we go, carrying a lot of corner speed they are there. But Paul Nicholls comes across the timing line for the first time of asking ahead of Richard Holmes-Williams. And then there's an almighty gap back to Nick Bennett Nick Bennett in third position, Josh Darter in fourth, and then Justin Bainbridge rounding out the running order in P5.
Paul Nicholls looks like he's managing to gain the lead, but Richard Holmes-Williams doesn't look like he's going to make Paul Nicholls run away with it.
No, certainly not. He's really sticking on the back of him. The top 2 have kind of broken away really from third position. They're looking very, very racy out there on track at the moment. And third position of Nick Bennett, he's all out there on his own really. And we kind of expected Josh Darter to do a bit better than this. He's on the liquid cooled bike, which is generally the faster of the Minimotos if you're ever out on one. And my goodness me, Richard Holmes-Williams, stand up and take a bow around the outside in the far end of the circuit. He's leaning over the front of that bike like his life depends on it. And he's into the lead of this race in this Senior Minimoto's final race of the day, but they're nearly side by side as they come across the timing line once again, and Paul Nicholls manages to get the lead back despite Richard Holmes-Williams setting the fastest lap time there by half a tenth of a second or so. Incredibly close racing there, Josh.
Yeah, looks like one of those MotoGP races like Valentino versus Marquez, but I think Richard Holmes-Williams might manage to pull a lead.
Let's wait and see how things go. Well, Holmes-Williams has looked very quick. He's now out into the lead of this race, but Paul Nicholls has got some great straight line speed. He looks around the outside into the far end of the circuit, but no way through for him there, unfortunately. Looking into the sweeping right-handed hairpin they go, and then onto the Simpson Straight. I'm not entirely sure, though, mate, why they call this a straight, because it's not, though, is it really?
No, it's just...
it's a curve.
Yeah, it's just... On a Minimoto, you seem to get your knee down through it, so it's not really a straight.
Well, I was going to say, we saw Emmanuel Brinton crash twice there earlier today as well, so it's definitely not a straight as far as I'm concerned.
I nearly crashed there on Friday. I managed to save it, but it's definitely not a straight.
No, absolutely not. Meanwhile, Nick Bennett and Josh Darter battling for third and fourth position. They come across the timing line. Josh Darter now ahead of Nick Bennett, so that liquid cooled bike perhaps coming into its own, but he's got an almighty gap of 15 seconds to make up against Richard Holmes-Williams and Paul Nicholls. Holmes-Williams still in the lead of this race ahead of Nicholls at the moment. They're side by side though, Josh, going down the back straight, aren't they? Very close.
Mm-hmm.
Into the sweeping left-handed bend we go, and then into the hairpin once again. Holmes-Williams leads Darter, but then Nicholls leads Holmes-Williams into the right-hander we go. They're incredibly close. They're going to come down that Simpson Straight that's not really a straight. The sweeping left-handed curve. No way through there for Holmes-Williams. He looks around the outside, though. He's going to outbrake him. That's an incredible move around the outside. How on earth did he ever manage to pull that off? And how on earth did my voice ever reach that kind of a note as well? That was amazing. So Holmes-Williams out in the front in the lead of this race. The top 2 gapping third position man Josh Darter on the number 26, who's managed to break away from Nick Bennett in fourth place by just a couple of tenths of a second. But the gap between first and third position is now sitting at nearly 19 seconds. It's incredibly close up at the top 2, but there's quite a way of a gap back then.
Josh Darter looked like he's managing to pull a gap on Justin Bainbridge.
So we just heard from Race Control as well that Richard Holmes-Williams is doing an absolutely fantastic job because he's on an air-cooled bike, whereas Paul Nicholls is on the liquid-cooled bike, so it's got a lot more power, haven't they, the liquid-cooled machines?
Yeah, the liquid-cooled machines are a lot easier to ride, I would say, because on the air-cooled bikes you have to work very hard to get the speed down the straights, and you have to brake very late and get on the throttle very early. But if you're on a liquid cool bike, all you really have to do is brake late.
That's it, and just power it out of the corner, and it's got a lot more go, hasn't it? That's it. So Richard Holmes-Williams leads the way. Fastest lap from Holmes-Williams as well on the 126, a 55 flat in comparison to Paul Nicholls' 55.183. So just a couple of tenths of a second separating them in terms of lap time, and a couple of motorcycle tyre width separating them on track as well. Very, very close racing between those two riders. Incredible, fantastic overtaking going on between the two, and now it looks like Paul Nicholls is going to try and get himself back up the inside into the final corner, but just no way through there. But Richard Holmes-Williams, I can't believe how late he's managing to brake there, Josh. It's just incredible, isn't it? Yeah,
but if you think about it, it's not really that much different because he's on an air-cooled bike. But for the liquid-cooled, it's probably quite a big difference.
Yes, indeed. Into the middle sector we go. Holmes-Williams on the 126, holding up very, very well through that right-hander. Come back to the race in just a couple of seconds as well, because we've got a couple of laps left to run. But in terms of your race weekend this time, Josh, it's been jolly good for you. What are you eating there? You've got a sweet as well. Yeah. It's all right for some, isn't it? Well, it's shocking I don't get any sweets brought up to the commentary box for you. So it's gone really well for you, though, this weekend, though, isn't it, with the GPs?
Yeah, it went better than expected. It's definitely in the wet race. I thought I was going to have a little scrap with Josh Hyatt, but I just thought, go as fast as you can, and managed to keep the tyres warm.
Meanwhile, sorry, Josh, we'll come back to you in just a couple of moments, but it is Richard Holmes-Williams who takes the checkered flag in the Senior Minimoto race. A brilliant victory, 54 seconds on the fastest lap, and on the last lap of racing, Paul Nicholls takes second place on the liquid-cooled machine, and it's going to be quite a way down the road, but it will eventually be Josh Darter who finishes in third and final position on the podium, with Nick Bennett rounding out fourth position, and then Justin Bainbridge in P5. An incredible race there, but that means then that Paul Nicholls, who took the victory in race 2...